Good day. Good morning. This is Morsels of a Thought number 1798. Good morning to everybody who has been so faithful to come to me. Good morning, John Clark. Good morning, This Rose Cantara. Good morning, Colleen Dracos. Good morning, Gina Putoff. Good morning, AC Rusita. Good morning. My nose itches, so somebody's thinking about me. Anyway, I want to say that I am really glad that we've been here 1798 days in a row. And as you can see, I've been recently very terrible about being on time. Today I was on time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it over back to the 5:10 a.m. time in the morning, Pacific Standard Time, which means that during part of the year, much of the year, I will be doing it at 4:10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, but we will call it 5:10 a.m. all the way around the year. 5:10 a.m. So, with that, I am going to make that biggest attempt, creating the action, bringing the virtue, keeping the wisdom, bringing you morsels of a thought every morning, and figuring out the right things to do in life. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we've got Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider. Now, Sherrie Schneider has said to me, "You know how to go makeup, makeup, makeup. Oh my God, makeup. My eyebrows can run down to my chin if I put on the right makeup, which makes me look awake. I love that I would look awake when I put on makeup, but lately there's been a lot going on. So I've been drinking coffee and just going, I've been drinking enough water and going, and running to the women's room all the time. I'm not very wise, but I bring you synopses of other people's lives, including Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider, every Tuesday and every Thursday. And on Mondays, I bring you Alison Chavez's ultimate, the prosperity approach, the simple formula to ultimate prosperity. On Wednesday, I do some rants, including quotes from other people. It's a very much of a variety show on Wednesday. And then Friday, currently, we're going to read a second time through Brain Rescue. Um, a a 90-day blueprint to reclaim your memory after a brain injury or concussion. Saturday, we read Millennial Samurai, Book 1, A Mindset for the 21st Century. And right now, we are going to read Larry Namer, Never Follow the Crowd. Let me see if that's correct. Let me see if that's correct. I want to make sure I give you the right name of the book. Everything I'm saying right now is off the top of my head because what did I do this morning? Never Follow the Crowd, Recipes for Success. Larry J. Namer, visionary founder of E Entertainment TV Network. He said, "You can read the book." And I said, "Okay, I shall." And today we are on Thursday, morsels of a thought of wisdom. Wisdom, hopefully, that we know the right things to do, because knowing the right thing to do is wisdom. Doing it is virtue. Now, rule number 29 is rules for sex. And I'm not reading that to you today because that's in the rules for marriage. That is in the rules for marriage, which you can get. I'm not going to read that part to you. Okay, I'm going to read something else. Be a team, rule number 6. That's a better way to start off this show because I'm not an X rated show. And even though I will say things that are occasionally a check mark episode, I don't really want to read that. I have in the past, actually. I actually have read that in the past. So we'll have to find that episode and bring it to you sometime if you're truly interested in it. Right now, because, oh, I don't want to say anymore. Rule number 6, be a team. The rules for marriage. Time-tested secrets for making your marriage work by Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider, authors of the best-selling New York Times best-selling book The Rules. Time-tested secrets for capturing the heart of Mr. Right. This is the rules for marriage. Be a team. The authors say, we told you in the rules to be independent, to keep your own life, career interests, hobbies, friends when you meet Mr. Right. This is necessary because many women tend to drop everything and everyone when they start dating a man they really like. They become too involved, see him too often, too early on, and he eventually loses interest. Like it or not, men very often fall in love with women who initially appear able to take them or leave them. And in rule number 4, we reminded you to keep up your own interests and have a life. But be careful to strike a balance. The same independent spirit that helped him fall in love with you and keeps him interested can backfire if you go too far in this direction. For a truly successful marriage, it is essential to remember you are now part of a team. While you should certainly continue to cultivate your career, friends, interests throughout your marriage, you must retrain yourself to think as a couple, not as a single person. Okay, so this is as a couple, and this coming up is as a single person. All the rules, all. See that word? All the rules. Time tested secrets for capturing the heart of Mr. Right. You think like a single person here, but you are married in here. Oh God, let me drop all the pages. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, so that's the trifecta plus this. Okay. For example, before you make plans with a girlfriend to grab dinner and a movie, no big deal, right? Run it by him. It's not that you are asking permission, it's just that he might want to see that movie with you, and it might make sense to choose a different one tonight. I have a friend that got me to agree to do a dinner together over the phone, and we set it up. And then, because we didn't have it all on our calendars, one of us forgot and set up a date. And so the other person said, "Oh, that's too bad." So we had to reset it. And now we're going to reset it again. We're going to reset it again. Little courtesies, the authors say, little courtesies of the kind that where the woman ran it by her husband can make a big difference in marriage. For example, try to wait to have dinner together when he calls to say he'll be a half hour late. Even though the food is hot, you're starving and a little annoyed. What is half an hour compared to the enjoyment of a shared dinner? In other words, reheat your food so you can have dinner together. A family that eats together stays together, as they say on TV. I want to make a special request in the middle of my show today. I want to make a special request. If there is somebody who is willing to join me in the production of this show, I think it will make me a lot more punctual. And I can do two things at once. If I have a friend that helps me and who is able to uh, take care of some of the things behind the scenes regarding this show. It's been almost 1,800 episodes now. We're on 1798, and 1,800 will be this Saturday, which will be the day after tomorrow. Yay. Okay, back to the authors in The Rules for Marriage, Time-Tested Secrets for Making Your Marriage Work. Make sure you have at least 20 minutes together at some point during the day, whether it's a meal, a cup of coffee, or cuddling, so that you can catch up on the day's events and so that you don't become, quote, two ships passing through the night, end quote. Go to parties together or not at all. Force yourself to go to his distant cousin's wedding, even though you don't know anyone and have a million things to do that weekend. If he's not in the mood to go to your friend's New Year's Eve party, don't force him and don't go alone. Be willing to rent a video and order in Chinese food if he wants to ring in the new year quietly. Take your husband's opinion into consideration before buying things or making decisions that affect both of you. For example, before plunking down your credit card for a Laura Ashley bedspread and matching curtains, ask him if he likes that kind of frilly stuff. Do not assume men have no interest in such things. You might be surprised to find out that married men have very definite opinions about everything from time spent apart to decorating. In other words, for example, we were once looking at a magazine that had a photo of a wedding dress, and Uncle Ray thought it was hideous. I thought, oh, we never ask men about what our wedding dresses ought to look like. But if a man is getting married to a woman where he doesn't get a chance to tell her what her wedding dress looks like in his opinion, then he could be marrying a woman who looks in a dress hideous and not good. Not a good sign. So you want to ask for the man's opinion. That's why one time I asked, I want to know what Uncle Ray thinks of this blouse. This is true. This is really what happened. Okay, back to the authors. We have many married girlfriends, the co-authors. We have many married girlfriends and can tell you that their husbands are downright offended when they are not consulted about everything from the hemline of the cocktail dress they just bought to health and career issues. Married men can get particularly peeved if they find out that you consulted your friend or mother for advice and not them. They have egos and would like to think that they have the answers, that they are your savior, or at least that you care about their opinions enough to ask. And if he has to look at it every day, but your mother doesn't and your girlfriend doesn't, then it's only fair to have him say whether it looks nice or not. Separate vacations have become more popular among married couples. We don't think this is a good idea. Over time, doing your own thing will cause you to lead separate lives. We are not talking about a 3-day trip to Florida with your sister or best friend. If you want to take small trips like this, feel free to. But if you want to take a major vacation, say to spend 2 weeks in Europe, your husband should be your travel companion. But suppose your idea of a fun vacation is going to Europe or lying on the beach in the Caribbean while your husband loves tours of historic sites and museums. Our advice is to figure out a way to do a little of both. One year you can go to the beach, the next year you can do a tourist package together or go on a trip with a beach near some sites of cultural interest. Once you start planning separate vacations, you become like roommates, not lovers. Ditto for money. With more women working these days, it's become popular for couples to have separate savings or checking accounts instead of, in addition to, in addition to a joint account. The idea is for each spouse to have his own, quote, personal, quote, money to spend without having to explain or account to the other. We are not financial experts and we don't presume to tell you how to save or spend your money in a marriage. There are plenty of books on that subject you can read, but we can tell you that couples we've counseled who pool their money and spend it as if they are a team generally do not have the money issues that plague couples with separate accounts. The reason when you have a separate account, you're thinking me, like a single person with a roommate. When you have a joint account, you're thinking we. You're thinking unselfishly of what's best for both of you and your children. You have a common vision, similar goals. Whenever we ask a woman why she feels it is necessary, why she feels it necessary to put aside X amount of money from her paycheck in a separate account every month, she will invariably say, that way I can buy a new dress or shoes without a hassle and without feeling guilty. My husband thinks it's frivolous that we should be spending every penny we have on the mortgage or our children's college tuition. Our question is, what kind of marriage do they have if she is not allowed to spend a reasonable amount of money on herself, especially if she is earning it? When you have separate accounts, it creates a whole secrecy about spending. Why can't she simply tell her husband, I need a new dress, and take it out of their joint account? Similarly, a husband might set up a separate account to indulge his boat habit. Why does he need a separate account? If their marriage is a good one and he is not being irresponsible, not leaving bills unpaid in order to pay for the boat, why can't his wife be happy that he likes boating and be okay with the expenses that go along with it? We are reading from Time Tested Secrets for Making a Marriage Work, The Rules for a Marriage by Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider. Another common response is, what if our marriage doesn't work out? I want to make sure I have some money of my own. We have a problem with that too. If a woman is going into a marriage with thoughts of, quote, what if it doesn't work out, end quote, how committed can she be? Her problem is not money, but commitment or love. If if your primary objective is maximum financial independence and security, then yes, you should keep money on the side and have separate accounts. But if this is your primary objective, you should be reading a different book. This book is not about money, but what makes for a great marriage. And as far as we are concerned, that includes complete trust about everything, even money. You should be able to place implicit trust in the fact that you are a team. That's what's good for one, that what's good for one is good for the other. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, remember? And that the marriage is characterized by a generosity of spirit, not a nickel and dime mentality. It does not matter if you are poor or rich. It's about whether or not you trust your husband. Of course, we are not talking about gamblers, drug addicts, dishonest businessmen, or men who are completely irresponsible. If you are married to one of these men, you will need to proceed with caution in many more areas of your marriage than money. No, we are talking about the average husband whom you married for richer or poorer. If you are worried about how your husband is spending or investing your money, then your problem is trust. If you don't trust your husband, you shouldn't have married him. In our first book, we said not to go Dutch treat, not because you can't afford to pay for dinner. And John Clark, I got your message about how I should not have paid for that dinner at one night, that one time. That was a mistake. Anyway, oh boy. Oh, he heard it afterward, like way afterward, but afterward he did hear it. Anyway, so back to this sentence from the authors, Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider. In our first book, we said not to go Dutch treat, not because you can't afford to pay for, not because you can't afford to pay for dinner, but because any man who asks you to pay is probably not in love with you. If he's thinking about the cost of the shrimp dish you ordered, then he's not thinking about you. Whoa, I just got a whole revelation just now. Oh my God. That man that I dated that was from the South, he did the same thing. He didn't do the same thing as that man, but he did the same thing as what is in this book. He watched me eating sushi. And he kept watching me and watching me and watching me. And finally he said, I'll pay for your dinner. Well, guess what? I guess we were going to treat that time. That was before the rules. And I was 26 or 27. Oh my gosh. So If he's thinking about the cost of the shrimp dish you ordered, then he's not thinking about you. The same applies to money matters in a marriage, the authors say. If you're even thinking about money in a he versus me way, say Sherrie Schneider and Ellen Fein, if you're even thinking about money in a he versus me way and keeping score of who is earning what and spending what, there is something deeply wrong. The fact is, sometimes a wife has to support her husband through graduate school or a layoff or career change. Sometimes a husband has to be the sole breadwinner when his wife decides to quit work to be a stay at home mom. So it's not one for two, two for one. Da, 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 da. Sometimes you earn more, sometimes he does. So what? Aren't you in this together? If you think in terms of all for one and one for all, there is no resentment or competition or need for separate accounts. There are, of course, extenuating circumstances for keeping your money separately. For example, if you are divorced and have money from your first marriage that you are saving for your children, or have signed a prenuptial agreement. We have no problem with prenups. That's what they say. We have no problem with prenups, say the authors. If either of you made tons of money before you met, why shouldn't you keep it? And if you have decided before your marriage that this is what you would do with your previous earnings, then it was a mutual decision, which is really the most important thing when it comes to money. Yes? So, this was to be a team. They ended up talking about money, which is a big, big thing. But what they said is to have joint accounts. Joint accounts. They have egos and want to think that they have the answers. Be a team. Rule number 6. Newsflash, newsflash, newsflash. Newsflash. There are newsflashes going on while I'm reading this. Newsflash. The powers that be in our USA country, check mark, our country, um, are talking about really serious things. I'm going to switch over from the rules for marriage, time tested secrets for making your marriage work, to the fact that we also have to um, we also have to keep our eyes on the world and keep on being socially conscious. I want us to be socially conscious as well as being a team. Sometimes people get so wrapped up in their marriage, they say, I'm only going to pay attention to my marriage. I will pay attention to nothing else. My husband does everything. My husband decides everything. He decides my money. He decides I just let him take care of it. I don't do anything else. I don't want to see the world. I am not going to see the world. I'm a good wife. There are some people who are like that. I suggest your silence in social matters will not protect you from the effects of social dangers, political problems. Anyway, morsels of a thought. That's what I want to inspire you with today. Be a team when you're on a married team, when you're married, I mean, and think to become a team when you're single, when you want to become married and you're dating and you're a woman and what? And be socially conscious, politically conscious, and don't call for politicians to be hanged. God damn it. So I was reading to you what Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider said, and because of something that showed up on my screen, I read to you something that showed up on my screen. Okay, old Kinderhook.